Coming up on WUFT Midday, Election Day underway across the country. How and where you can cast your vote.
A judge ruling on Elon Musk's $1 million voter giveaway. Why the district attorney feels the ruling isn't fair.
A town with only 6 residents who all cast their votes at midnight. We'll break down the results. WUFT Midday starts right now.
And a live look at the White House, where the country will soon learn who will be the 47th president of the United States. It's Election Day and all eyes are on the 2024 presidential race. This is WUFT Midday. I'm Jessica Nitti.
And I'm Haley Balgobin. Let's take a look at the current voter turnout across the country. Nearly 80 million votes have been cast through mail-in and early in-person voting periods. 41% of turnout was registered Democrats and 39% are registered as Republicans. The other 20% are either not registered with a party or independent.
The latest NBC News national poll shows support for Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump split right down the middle among registered voters. Jay Gray breaks down how candidates are making a final pitch to voters who could decide who wins the White House.
The race for the White House now an all-out sprint with no clear leader. In the latest and last NBC News national poll ahead of Tuesday's vote, Vice President Harris and former President Trump each getting support from 49% of registered voters.
So we got to get our country straightened out or we're not going to have a country. All right, that's all.
Both closing out their campaigns in a half dozen or so swing states that could ultimately determine who wins the White House.
I see voters standing together to defend freedom. This moment in our nation has to be about so much more than partisan politics.
Gold and amber leaves frame the Pennsylvania countryside, but make no mistake, Bucks County, like so many in this state, is purple, split between Republicans and Democrats. The signs of how close the campaign is here are everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like from my lens, like the signage at least seems pretty split. Yeah, I would say that.
Along the sidelines of a youth soccer match, parents understand the role their community could play in the political game. Some unsure if they'll know the final score when the polls close tomorrow night.
No, I won't be staying up late Tuesday night. I don't think it'll be decided Tuesday night. I think we'll have to wait.
Officials in Pennsylvania warning the count could take days here. Jay Gray, NBC News, Doylestown.
Election officials are urging patience and calm on what's sure to be a long day of voting and ballot counts. Laura Aguirre explains how late results could come out.
For president, 3 for Kamala Harris, 3 for Donald Trump.
It's a split vote in the nation's first ballots cast on Election Day in the tiny U.S.-Canadian border town of Dixville Notch, New Hampshire. Population 6. Polls are now opening across the country, rolling east to west over the next few hours. In Pennsylvania, the largest battleground state up for grabs, voter confidence is mixed.
Seems very trustworthy. I dropped my ballot off, and who knows what's going to happen after this.
The state has been grappling with a turbulent early voting process that's seen claims of voter suppression and last-minute legal filings, described by one official as, quote, bad faith mass challenges. Officials there are working to reassure voters heading to the polls today.
Pennsylvania's election will be free, fair, safe, and secure.
The state's district attorney pulled no punches on potential disruptors.
Anybody who thinks it's time to play militia, F around and find out.
It's a message being echoed by fellow swing state, Michigan.
Comply with state law just like any other jurisdiction.
That goes for voters and poll watchers, too.
If an observer is not going to follow the rules, we will have them removed. We have that authority here.
Also key to the vote count, patience.
It will be sometime after midnight. It's just the reality of counting hundreds of thousands of ballots.
Counting will begin as early as 6 p.m. Eastern in some states, with the last 2 to close their polls being Hawaii at midnight Eastern Time and Alaska at 1 a.m. Eastern Wednesday morning. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Vice President Kamala Harris will host her election night watch party at Howard University in Washington, D.C. tonight. Crews were on hand Monday preparing for tonight's big event by setting up stages, a huge video board, and other structures on the campus. According to school officials, this will be the first time a university will host a presidential election night event in modern history. Vice President Kamala Harris chose Howard for her events tonight after graduating from the historic school in 1986.
Trump's watch party is a bit closer to home as he will host it in his Mar-a-Lago home in West Palm Beach. He is expected to host multiple dinners with those who are close friends and donors. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden and his wife will watch the results unfold from the White House.
Taking a live look outside over our DOT cameras, it's another hot and sunny day in north central Florida. Great weather to head out to the polls. UF forecaster Selina Massman is tracking potential showers over the next few days.
Yes, Jessica, temperatures right now are relatively warm, but the weather right now is very beautiful. Temperatures currently are in the mid-upper 80s and will drop a little bit further down later on this evening. As those polls close at 7 p.m., the chance for an evening drizzle does go up slightly, but those temperatures will drop down to the mid-70s, making it very comfortable. The only thing that's currently going on in the tropics is Tropical Storm Raphael that's currently sitting off of the coast of Jamaica. Later on this week, currently it's still sitting off the coast of Jamaica at 60 miles per hour. As a tropical storm, it'll make its way over Cuba by tomorrow into Wednesday as a Category 1 hurricane. By the time it reaches the Gulf of Mexico, you'll see some of those straggle showers off, or some of those rain bands make their way into Florida, not really impacting us as a state though, as it makes its way over into the western portion of the Gulf of Mexico. It'll reach Louisiana only as a tropical storm, bringing significant rainfall, not a lot of concerns regarding wind speeds for both our state and a little bit further west from us. Those rainfall totals over the next 5 days, because of those showers, we can expect around 1.5 inches here in Gainesville, a little bit more if you go northerly, even reaching 2 inches up here in Lake City as that storm makes its way through the Gulf Coast. But for now, taking a look at our campus cam, we see beautiful blue skies, some puffy white clouds here and there. Temperatures are currently at 84 degrees, a little bit windy with 11-mile-per-hour winds, making it a little bit more comfortable and adding a slight breeze to our skin, getting rid of that hot temperature that we might be experiencing. But those temperatures are currently in the mid to upper 80s, Ocala at 85, Lake City only at 81. We won't be seeing much of a change throughout the rest of today in this regard. The storm tracker is not showing us any major sprinkles in our area. We might see later on tonight, though, that chance that I mentioned earlier of a drizzle, but shouldn't be an issue for any of the election day polls. But by tomorrow, we see the chance for rain go up significantly. We're looking at 80% chance of rain by tomorrow afternoon into the evening, still looking at 80% chance of rain. Make sure to bring an umbrella and finish any activities that you might have for tomorrow a little bit earlier on into the day. Saturday and Sunday, we're looking at beautiful sunny skies, temperatures similar to what we experienced today, and the 7-day forecast showing a similar situation for the rest of the week. Temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, lows in the 70s, and should be a relatively nice Veterans Day for Monday.
Let's take a look at how Floridians have voted during the last 2 presidential elections. Florida has consistently had a close turnout for Democratic and Republican voters. In 2020, 47.9% of ballots were cast for Democratic and 51.2% were Republican. And in 2016, 47.8% were Democratic and 49% were Republican.
A Pennsylvania judge ruled that Elon Musk PAC can continue its $1 million a day voter sweepstakes. Our Alexa Ryan breaks down the judge's ruling.
Lawyers hired say the payments were a scam and told a judge the PAC misled the public by first suggesting those $1 million payments would be awarded on a random basis for those who signed a petition for the America PAC. The PAC's treasurer told the court that it was never the plan to choose people at random, rather people were selected. They were vetted and went through a security process before they were surprised with the opportunity to become a PAC spokesperson. According to defense witnesses, those who were hired as spokespeople signed NDAs and can't talk about the process. The PAC publicly announced those who have been chosen will be paid by November 30th. The district attorney's team called the efforts by Musk one of the biggest scams in 50 years. Live in the studio, Alexa Ryan, WUFT News.
Rideshare companies are removing barriers for those who need transportation to the polls. Lyft and Uber are providing discounts for voters heading to the polling locations. For Lyft rides, use code VOTE24 to get 50% off your ride. This code is valid from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. local time. Uber is also offering a 50% discount available all day when users select the Go Vote tile in the Uber app. Both discounts cover up to $10 off rides. Lyft cites studies showing that people without cars are far less likely to vote.
Federal judges in Missouri and Texas have blocked bids by Republican state officials to ban Justice Department observers at polling sites in those states. Missouri officials sought an order to keep federal election monitors out of St. Louis. They say the DOJ was barred from doing so by state law. The judge disagreed, citing a 2021 agreement between the city over concerns with the Americans with Disabilities Act that allowed officials to monitor election sites. In Texas, the state attorney tried to file a temporary restraining order to block the DOJ from polling places in 8 counties. The judge wouldn't sign the restraining order, but said DOJ officials needed to respond to the lawsuit by noon.
The small town of Dixville Notch, New Hampshire, kicked off its traditional midnight vote early this morning. The town is located in the heart of northern New Hampshire. Its 6 registered voters gathered at the Tilliston Room of the Balsams Resort to cast the first votes on Election Day. Residents have cast the first ballots at this location for the last 60 years. New Hampshire state law allows towns like Dixville Notch to open their polls at midnight and close them shortly after if they can prove that everyone who wanted to vote was able to. This year, it was a tie between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, each receiving 3 votes. A social media influencer says he was paid $100 by a Russian agent to post a fake voter fraud voter. The pro-Trump influencer uses the handle AlphaFox78 on X. The man, who wishes to remain anonymous, was the first to post a now-debunked video that showed a Haitian immigrant claiming he would vote at least twice in Georgia for Vice President Kamala Harris. Alpha Fox says a pro-Kremlin propagandist paid him to post that video, as well as several others leading up to the election. He removed the video after learning it was fake.
The FBI runs an election command post in Washington, D.C. on Election Day. Agents will monitor and respond to election-related threats in the lead-up to and after the election. They will also assist in coordinating response with state, local, and federal partners. The office is staffed by 80 people per shift across a dozen agencies and will run 24 hours a day, every day, this week as results come in.
Now let's get over to WUFT First at 5 anchor Mar Roaches with a look at what's coming up on First at 5 on Channel 5.
Tonight on First at 5, all about the election. First, what's happening at the polls in Alachua County. Plus, live coverage of a watch party at the University of Florida's Pugh Hall. And live looks at where candidates will hold their watch parties. Former President Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago, Vice President Kamala Harris in D.C. at her alma mater, Howard University. All that and more at 5.
And before we go, one last check on the weather. Selina, tell us what we can expect today on Election Day.
Yes, so the polls for today, the weather is beautiful. Get out and vote if you can. The temperatures right now are still in the mid to lower 80s, and no rain is expected for the upcoming hours. So it should be a relatively good day. Just make sure you bring a water bottle out with you to stay hydrated. But by tonight, as the polls close, temperatures will drop a little bit more. The 7-day forecast is showing us a similar trend for the rest of this week. A chance for rain is definitely in the forecast for tomorrow, and it'll die down a little bit later on into this weekend. This weekend should be similar to what we experienced today, with partly sunny skies. Temperatures in the mid 80s, lows in the low 70s, upper 60s, and Veterans Day should be a relatively good day if you want to get out and do something.
WUFT and WRUF have you covered on election night. Tune into Cox Channels 3 and 6 for live team coverage of local city and county races, state amendments, and the race for the White House.
Our coverage begins when the polls close tonight at 7 p.m. And if you can't get to vote, you can listen in at FM 89.1 and 90.1 in addition to WUFT.org.
Thanks for joining us for WUFT Midday. We're back here tomorrow for another edition.
We now join Sports Scene with Steve Russell live on WRUF Radio and right here on WRUF-TV, Channel 6.